Hello and welcome to the Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind and forward-moving spouse with a bomb drop of March 12th, 2023. She has a date of marriage of 2017, and she says that he is at home and a low-energy wallower. She asks, is my husband mirroring my previous behavior or cycling towards me right now? Bomb drop was in March, after I had him sent in for a psych evaluation for being suicidal. He got a diagnosis for being clinically depressed and for adjustment disorder. He did not do the follow-up treatment. We had limited interactions and it got worse over the next 5 months. I always brought him or offered him food. At the end of September, I went no contact for a few days and he emailed me blank divorce papers. Now, just to set aside for a minute, remember that she said that this is an at-home MLCer. So she sent him in for a psych eval. He was diagnosed, no follow-up. It got worse. She brings him food, and then she goes no contact, but in the same house. He emailed blank divorce papers. They're in the same house. I want that stressed in this, okay? And I'm stressing it for all of you because I forgot it when reading the rest of this. She then says, I took the bait after getting these blank divorce papers. This is September. I took the bait and we had a fight. In October, I went no contact again, and he opened a new bank account and moved a tiny amount over and monstered about divorce. A few weeks later, I texted a Laura Doyle-style text apologizing for not respecting him all of the time during our marriage. Later that day, he came out and found me in the backyard and asked if I wanted food. Since then, he's gotten me food 3 times, and he leaves it on the dresser by my room. I'm confused. Is he cycling and can't find the words to speak to me? Or go back to the original question, is he mirroring me? Why can't it be both? I think that would be a big thing, is that it could be both. You have shown him something when you did that Laura Doyle text. Was it a text? Yes. You sent the Laura Doyle text out with an apology. And that was for him an opening to feel safe. Oh wow, she is acknowledging something on her end. And he may not be ready for that. Apologizing is hard. And I say that coming from being the person that's I think I have more trouble apologizing than Chuck does. Verbally. You can do actions, but to say it is to openly acknowledge and admit. And sometimes the actions might mean more, but I can do the actions. But I remember years ago at work, I took my I'm a little sorry. I wrote I'm sorry on a tiny Post-it note and handed it to my supervisor. And I looked at him and I said, I think I might have spoken, I'm sorry. But I felt small because I knew that I was accountable. And it felt, I was shuffling. I was dragging my feet to get in there. I was embarrassed. So apologizing can be really hard. He got an apology from you. And he doesn't maybe he's not ready. But he can show actions. And he feels a little safer. And there is a mirroring in that. Just keep doing what's working. It's going to cycle. Because if this is a midlife crisis, that may not last. He's still going to cycle. He was diagnosed with depression and, what was it? Adjustment disorder, and has done nothing. And anyone of you who are out there listening to this and are already familiar with midlife crisis, you're probably not surprised that he hasn't followed through with treatment. And even though he's at home, he is likely resistant to your having the right of wife or the right of spouse. And what that is, honey, you really need to go back and do that treatment plan for the depression. Hey, honey, what's going on with your depression? I'm really worried about your medical stuff. Should I make a doctor appointment for you? That is right of spouse. That is a boundary that, similar to social distancing boundaries, we have with our spouse where we can have things that we can say and do for them that others can't. Just like we can have a closer social distance where others can't. That's gone. And you may have more of it than someone whose spouse isn't at home, and you may not. When they aren't at home, that is really a lot more gone, though, typically. So you have to tread very carefully, and it's very difficult because you're sitting there thinking, well, if I don't do this, the consequences are he gets worse. And if I do this, well, if you do it, the consequences might still be that he gets worse because he doesn't do anything about it still, and he adds resistance. And so we have to figure out, where is the balancing point? Where is the point where we do have the ability to influence, suggest, influence, advise, and we have to sit on that. And it's probably a fence post or a tightrope, because sometimes you will lean over and you'll do too much, but too little, and hey, I missed an opportunity, right? And it's going to change. He might accept more one day and less the next day, and that's why this is such a tightrope. Mirroring you, yeah, I think so. I think there's some of that, but that doesn't mean he's not cycling also. And right now, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. He's doing nice things, and be gracious and appreciative for what he's doing. Okay, I hope this is helpful, and I will see everybody in the next question. Hello and welcome to The Hero Spouse. I'm Kenda Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind and forward-moving spouse with a bomb drop of July 1st, 2022 and a date of marriage of 2002. She has a low-energy wallower who isn't off and on, but I have previously said that this is a rather clinging off and on, but contact is still enough that it's off and on. She says, last time I saw my husband, about 3 months ago, he had been living alone for about 7 months, and he seemed overtly depressed and emotional. He wanted to make some amends and no longer blamed me for our separation. He said he was ashamed of his behavior towards me and had been running from things all of his life. He wanted to work on himself. He wanted to see me. He wanted to see me as much as I would allow. About 3 weeks later, he started a new relationship with a colleague, though. He's known her for over 5 years, but previously she was nothing more than an acquaintance. He moved in with her and her 3 kids. He did that almost immediately. Now he's back to being formal with me and pushing to divide assets and such. He has not mentioned divorce, but it's implied. He wants to meet me, but I still need some space for now. Can you help me understand how he can go from wanting to make amends to this cold disregard in the space of weeks? Because I'm finding it bewildering. Excuse me. Yeah, I can, but unfortunately, I don't know if that's going to be an answer that really fills in everything, because the answer is midlife crisis. So let's go over some things. First thing, he has shown in the previous interactions where he didn't contact a lot, but then he'd see you. He's shown a lot of emotionality, a lot of emotional connection, willingness or desire or need to be vulnerable with you. That's why we talk about the clinging tendency with the low energy wallower. So, with the off and on. Now, why did he go back to this colleague, and why is he being formal? Because first thing, that's part of cycling. Also, he could have become limerent with this colleague. It seems so strange to all of us when we read these things that two different ways. First thing, we read that they met her on a Wednesday and they moved in with her the next Monday, and they're limerent, and she has her claws in, and there's emotional blackmail, but it's limerence. There's that. We see that all the time. They move in immediately. Then we see the other one is, he's known this person for years. They were never anything. Maybe acquaintances. Sometimes she was my friend. But they just were people who knew each other. Or that was the one he didn't like and always talked bad about. And that's the one they go for. Or just somebody who is in the social circle. That doesn't make sense either. It makes sense if there's somebody who we kind of knew about and maybe there was something there, but we have boundaries because we're in a relationship, but that weren't nothing. Maybe that was it too. It could be that. Maybe she always had her eye on him. But just this neutral acquaintance, platonic, and then bam, never talked about her. What? That confuses us sometimes just as much as that. How can somebody meet someone on a Monday and then move in with them on a Wednesday when they're married and it happens so fast? How does it latch in so fast? So both of those scenarios are normal. I don't have an explanation as to how that is or why. They're normal. She could have been interested in him and planting seeds. It could be that when he became available. So there's that. She started listening to him. So in your head, it happened in 3 weeks' time. He's known her for 5 years, though. There might have been more. So keep that in mind. And when I say been more, that doesn't mean he had any awareness of there being more. Maybe she did or didn't. And so for his experience and yours, it was fast. But he's vulnerable. Now, why did he want to make amends? Because he's feeling guilty. Because he is still connected to you. He is still clinging, even as an off and on. There's an emotional connection. There is shame and guilt in him. And he wants to make amends. He wants to make things right with his life. And he's no longer blaming you. He feels badly. And in a cycle, he goes there as well. It's not over, though. Your bomb drop was a little over a year ago. Not quite a year and a half, though. July of 2022. And I know it sucks to hear it, but it's still the beginning. And so this kind of thing where you see them nice and then not nice, or change their mind and not change their mind. This is the mixed messages we talk about. Why does he want to be so nice and make amends and maybe talk more? It was, even if he wasn't saying this, it was giving me hope that there was a greater possibility toward reconciliation. And then bam. First thing, they're going to meet, when they meet somebody, they may very well be more cold and formal because they need to set this boundary. And the other person might be also doing that for them, or initiating and instigating, encouraging, or manipulating them toward it, or insisting on it. Hey, you need to do this. Sometimes you can't call her. Hey, I saw that text and you can't send that kind of text. It's going to send the wrong message to her. You know, you need this. Sometimes they will do that. Not always. There might be less overt manipulations as well. But it's normal. He is probably limerent. And he was vulnerable to being limerent because he was looking for limerence. Doesn't mean he knew that's what he was doing. It's more the addictive high. He doesn't know, I'm looking to fall in love. He knows, I'm looking for something to make me feel better. I'm looking for something. I'm avoiding feeling bad. And how do you avoid that? You avoid it with substances. But wait, I'm not an alcoholic, but limerence has those substances. We get it internally. And so that is able to give him the feelings for her, give him some tunnel vision for her, and then have less empathy available for you as well. So he can be more formal when he has less empathy. And he wants to, even if he felt he was going to have empathy, he would want to put a mental and conscious block on it so as not to get sucked back in, so as not to give you hope. So he might, some of them will express it as, I don't want to be sucked back in. She's going to suck me in. Some of it is, I don't want to give her hope. So I don't want to suck her in. It goes both ways. I know it's bewildering. It's normal. Normal for midlife crisis. It's not normal for outside of that, but it is normal for what is going on right now in this. And you said you need the space. He wants to talk. That's an opening, but you're not ready. And we talked about this last time, is I want you to, you asked if he should stop being his comfort last time. And I said, I don't think that you're being the comfort blanket, that thing he leans on, and it's allowing him to stay crippled because he's an off and on. He doesn't do it all the time. If that behavior were with a clinging boomerang, yeah, because of that. But at the same time, I said, you still need to do it within your abilities. If you are not able to, say, have communication with him without going off on him, without pressuring him, without all of these things, without being emotional, without being detached, then don't. Get yourself to a place where you can have that, and then say, yeah, we can contact each other. We can. So you said you need the space for now, and he wants to meet you. Let's try and craft something for you to say to him. I'm not ready yet. It could just be, I'm not ready yet. But I would really like, if you're ready, if you can do it, to put a reassurance in it and make this maybe a text, that sort of thing. I think text is more common than email these days. I don't know, not having a cell phone, so I don't do it. But have just maybe 1 to 3 lines. And it's, I'm really sorry. I would like to meet up with you at some point in the future, but I still need some space for healing. And if you can give him a timeline, do that. And the timeline doesn't have, say, can we make an appointment for? It can say, I'm not sure I'll be ready, but check back in 3 months, 6 months, whatever. I would not want to go further out than that. I think 3 months is a good check-in time, especially since previously, and here you'd said, I think he's about 3 months since you've seen him, and maybe that was how long it had been in the previous time. He takes about 3 months between communications, which is standard off and on. Give him, but then that gives a reassurance that you do want to talk, you're just not ready, because you, and don't say, you hurt me so much. It's, I'm working on my healing, or I'm working on, and then there's something we can say that's positive. I'm working on becoming my best self, and find something, but that might be enough. I'm working on my healing, and I would love to meet with you, but I'm not quite ready yet. Can you check back with me in 3 months? Try something like that. If you feel even safe enough, or if you need so much space that you don't even want to respond, don't. It's still up to you. Okay? Because when you meet with him, all of these different meetings, still not ready yet. He is not ready. He may be pushing divorce. He might say other things. He might be vulnerable in this meeting like he was the last one. But given simply the date of bomb drop at July of last year, and this is now November of this year, given that, it's not, he's not going to say, okay, I want to come home, or we're going to resolve this. I don't want to. It doesn't. And if he does say those things, it's going to change back and back and back. He's going to cycle, and he has somebody there who is going to try and pull him back to her. It is doomed to fail, not 100%, but statistically, the relationship with her isn't going to go. It's not going to last. He's not being fair to her. She probably isn't being fair to him. I don't know her background and level of affair down. But it will cycle. And he will probably go back, especially if he's limerent for her. Limerence lasts 12 to 36 months in general. And this limerence has just started. So if he left her and cycled towards you because of the guilt or whatever, she would pine for him. He would pine for her. They would reconnect. They would keep it going, and it would be like that. So I don't want you to get disappointed and go, what's going on? He said all these wonderful, perfect things to me, and then he still went back to her? Limerence. Limerence and the confusion of MLC. That is a powerful potion. Those two together. Either one is powerful alone. Now put them together. Okay. I'm sorry you're going through this, but I hope this is helpful.